Welcome to Classes of Mail. Before you listen, you should know that Alan Gigax is not in any sense an official spokesman for the post office, the NALC, or anybody else. His opinions are inherently his own and should probably be disregarded. Same for his guests. Any information you hear on this podcast could be wrong and should not be relied upon for any reason. Enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Classes of Mail. My name is Alan Gigax and I'm here with Michael Brazenly.
Hi everyone.
And dude, this video component, I'm really digging it. Like there's not a ton of people watching on YouTube yet, but I haven't exactly put a lot of effort into marketing it. That's always kind of been a downfall for me is I don't do a lot of marketing.
So there's YouTube.
But yeah, there is YouTube and we're recording on video right now. And dude, I got this new remote control that Michael brought for me turns out he had the same camera as me, and so now I have a remote, which is way better than the way I was doing it. And this is great. Look, we can zoom in and zoom back out with the dude, this is good stuff. So with that out of the way, we are here to tell the rest of the story. You know, we had heard
the rest of Michael Rivera's story.
Yeah, the rest of Michael Rivera's story, right? There's the other I mean, we'll see, you know, what happens with the Committee on Appeals. But I know that when this has been brought up to CLC people, that they have said, well, you know, there's another side of the story. And
before we continue, I'm looking cool today because I forgot to change out my glasses. So even when it gets dark, I still got my sunglasses on.
Yeah, that there you go. Plus, he's high on cocaine right now.
I don't need drugs. So.
Yeah. So anyway, I had always felt that the charges were the other side of the story, and nobody has really accused Classes of Mail of not being even-handed, you know, in this, that we did read the charges and went through all that, and I feel like we've been fair about it. Well, we went over some of Michael Rivera's arguments about why he shouldn't be convicted. I mean, I had that whole episode, the railroading in Branch 70, but of course, Branch 70 gets their chance to respond, and that's what I have here. On my tablet, I have the reply from Branch 70. So Michael Rivera has appealed his decision, or the branch's decision, to convict him on charges of essentially defamation, even though that's not really what he was initially charged with. That's not in the original charge per se. Charge kind of got modified, and we'll talk about that. But this is the branch's response to Michael Rivera's appeal to the National Committee on Appeals, seeking to overturn his conviction.
We probably won't read the whole 13 pages.
We might. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Up to Alan. He wants to make these 30 minutes.
Read.
So
and
we'll
dude,
see.
I don't want to be accused of not, giving the fair shake and doing the whole thing.
Okay.
So before we get into that, I'm not the only person who has an opinion on this. And so thanks to Joshua Shrum, he has allowed me to take a clip from Parcels of Knowledge when he interviewed Eddie Davidson, because Eddie Davidson was asked about this issue. Eddie Davidson is a national business agent, and I don't know a ton about him, but he is pretty well respected, as near as I can tell. And by his own accounting of it, he has been courted for a national position by Mike Cariff and by the CLC. And so, you know, his opinion should be given the appropriate weight. I mean, you guys can give it whatever weight you think, but I'm going to play what he had to say about this situation of Branch 70. So here it comes.
Thoughts on Branch 70, Mike Rivera suspension from the branch?
Rivera thing, I'm very familiar with it. I'm very, very familiar with it. You know, I saw it and all this. Look, man, it's bullcrap. It's bullcrap right now. Look, it's going to be politicized because the branch president is the treasurer of the CLC.
I have to make a couple corrections as it goes along. The branch president is the chair of the CLC. And then also in a branch officer there, Rocky is the treasurer of the CLC. But the branch president is the chair. It's not doesn't make a difference really, but, set the record straight here.
And Mike's not and everything. But here's the deal right here. Mike Rivera has a right to file Article 10 charges on an election.
Okay, and this is another mix-up that I want to clear up. It was an Article 11 appeal of the conduct of the election. Michael Rivera did wind up filing charges against the branch president for not protecting his rights under the LMRDA, but that's not what Eddie's talking about here. Eddie Davidson is talking about Michael Rivera's election appeal, and he's going to refer to it as Article 10, but just know for clarification, he's talking about the election appeal, and that'll be obvious. All right, so moving on.
He has the right to do that. If he decides to post it on social media, whether it's accurate or not accurate, he has a right to do that. Man, I have people post stuff on me all the time that is bullshit. I don't care. But then you're going to turn around and file Article 10 charges on him and try to kick him out of the union, man. Look, man, that's a waste of time. That's pitiful right there. He has a right to his opinion. I got news for everybody. You ain't going to make everybody happy as a branch president. You're going to have people. I got people that attack me on social media and Facebook every time. And you know what I do? I just sit there and ignore them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So my point is, it's chicken shit. It don't matter if the charge was found substantial or not substantial, guilty or not guilty. He posted it, posted. How about you just do this? You just post it where the charges were voted down. But you're going to kick him out of the union. Appeal. Yeah. You kicked him out of the union. Like I said, we're weaponizing Article 10. It's wasting a lot of union times, and it's dividing a lot of branches. Because I guarantee you, all these ones that are having all these Article 10 charges, letter carriers want to come there and hear what's going on with their jobs. They don't want to hear a bunch of bullshit, so they're probably going to quit coming to meetings. It's childish, and we need to get away from it. You know what really drives me crazy about them Article 10 charges is? Where the hell is this damn committee at? Where is this headquarters? I mean, look, I got four or five people got election stuff up there. Why is it taking so long? Who oversees that committee? Who's the head of it? Call a meeting, man. I'm sure he wants to get his charges done before the convention. You know what I mean? Let's not politicize the process. Let's get the man some action. Let's get it taken care of as quick as possible. We shouldn't be putting this off. All right, let's move on.
There you go. So let's indeed move on. Thank you, Eddie Davidson, for your opinion, and thank you, Joshua Shrum, for giving me permission to share that.
No, he said to make the process go quicker.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's the branch who took forever.
Well, no, the branch did their reply in a timely manner, right? They have 20 days to do their reply, and then it gets sent up to the National Committee on Appeals. I mean, they did delay the process in the first place of Rivera's charges. They delayed it by a month. That is true. And they have the right to do that under Article 10, but obviously all of this makes it less likely that his appeal will be resolved by the time it goes to the National Committee on Appeals. And given,
it's almost like it's being done on purpose.
Yeah, given Branch 70's familiarity with this process, it's hard to make the case that that's all accidental and coincidental. Right. So in any case, we've heard Eddie Davidson's opinion now, and you know who agrees with it? James Henry. That in that previous episode where we have his previous ruling that talks about you can't prosecute somebody over the content of an appeal. And in the charges against Michael Rivera, it's pretty straightforward that they don't like that he didn't fact check what he shared onto social media. That, Michael Rivera's only claim was that this is an appeal in my branch. And that's true. It was an appeal in his branch. And well, let's get into the branch's reply. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Dear Committee on Appeals. By the way, there's no specific authorship on this. It just is from Branch 70. And dude, in fairness to the branch, this does represent the express will of the branch. The branch voted to convict Michael Rivera. Okay. Dear Committee on Appeals. This is the branch's response to Michael Rivera's appeal regarding the suspension imposed upon him by the members of Branch 70 at the April 9th, 2026 General Membership Meeting. For the record, Branch 70 would like to make it perfectly clear that the charges against Michael Rivera were not for sharing an election appeal. Okay, well, good to know. but not for sharing an election appeal, but for spreading false accusations of 10 Branch 70 members. The charges against Brother Rivera had nothing to do with him appealing the Branch 70 elections in 2025. All right, so to step back here, we're going to do a lot of commentary along this. I agree with this, and I agree in part with this, and I'm going to agree with a lot of what's in here, because the content of Michael Rivera's appeal was never brought up in the initial charges. It was only the content of Mari Thompson's appeal that they took issue with. And then, again, they take issue with Michael Rivera sharing Mari Thompson's appeal without any kind of direct disclaimer or any fact-checking and saying, like, oh, this isn't true. So that's what they take issue with. And so, yeah, this statement, the charges against Brother Rivera had nothing to do with him appealing the Branch 70 elections in 2025. It's a reasonable argument to make. Okay, so as far as the 10 Branch 70 members, we'll get into this a little bit more as it goes along. But in the charges that were first, the actual charges against Michael Rivera, what they say over and over is that he impugned the good name of Ricardo Guzman. Read it,
it's all in there, right?
Yeah, I get. Well, but there's a change, and this is what I want to point out: is that the charges that he was convicted on were about, harming the good name of Ricardo Guzman. But in here, they don't mention Ricardo Guzman at all. In their reply, they mention that he harmed the election committee, and it's only in like the very last sentence of the charges against Rivera that they mention, like, that he hurt Ricardo and the members of the election committee. So they're taking that tiny part of the initial charge and making it essentially their whole argument in the reply to Michael's appeal. All right, so moving on. Please know the membership of Branch 70 takes no pleasure in having to provide information which negatively portrays a fellow member. However, Brother Rivera, through his improper behavior and actions, has put the branch in a position where we are forced to defend ourselves. Brother Rivera has twisted the facts and refuses to take responsibility for his actions. In order to bring clarity to this chaos and break down the false narratives he has presented, it is essential for us to expose the harsh truth.
He's saying he's not taking accountability for what he did, but I thought he did. He says, I posted it.
Yeah, he did.
That sounds like accountability.
Right. What he didn't do, well, they'll get into how they think that is. I want to say here at the outset as well, if there's anything in Branch 70's reply that winds up not being true, does this mean now I can be brought up on charges because I didn't fact check the entirety of their reply? Right. That I'm just sharing this is the reply? I mean, that's the mentality that we're talking about here. And you really need to be closer to that microphone.
That sounds like what Madwin would do.
It does. I also want to give credit here. We've seen the writing of this type that has come out of our branch, and the writing that's here in Branch 70 is of a much higher quality. And so credit where it's due. They're definitely better writers and they make better arguments.
That's probably because a lot of them were stewards before.
That may be. I mean, that's the case in our branch too. Right. That our officers were stewards before. But I think also they actually have, like, the problem that our branch ran into is they don't have good arguments to make. There aren't good arguments. Our positions were a lot more solid. All right, but anyway, so let's get on. First of all, Brother Rivera has never been denied his First Amendment right to freedom of speech. I mean, I guess technically that's true. Mike, can you just move your the windscreen closer to... Yeah, I know, so that when you do talk, it's a little louder. Yeah, good. That'll do. It'll let you get a little closer.
Alan's the one who set this up.
Whoa, dude. Now, see, you hear the difference? Do you hear it in your own headphones?
Well, because I made it closer.
Yeah, dude, that's better. All right, so anyway. Branch 70 has... First of all, Brother Rivera has never been denied his First Amendment right to freedom of speech.
That is, to me, false.
To me,
this was posting something on Facebook, which is part of.
But as we went over with the initial charges, like, they never told him to take it down, right? Because they can't. And so, yeah, technically, they didn't tell him he can't say it, but they're going to go on. The members of Branch 70 recognize that freedom of speech is a fundamental right to articulate opinions and ideas both verbally and in writing. However, freedom of speech is not absolute. There are limits/exceptions. For example, freedom of speech does not protect defamation, libel, and or slander. Defamation is defined by Merriam-Webster as, quote, the communication of false statements about a person to a third party that injures their reputation or causes public contempt. It must be a false statement of fact, not just opinion, that causes damage, often categorized as libel, written, or slander, spoken, end quote.
So, false statement. What false statement did he do?
Well,
except that he said there's a appeal.
There's an appeal. This is the nuance of the argument. There is an appeal, and this is the content of that appeal.
Right.
Yeah, and it's such, for a nuance to be that tight in their argument, and then to suspend him for 18 months over a nuance that tight. I think I agree with Eddie Davidson here. But let's go on. I mean, they make arguments. Yeah, you're right. They go on. Brother Rivera's posting of false statements pertaining to 10 of his brothers and sisters injured their reputations and caused public contempt. It's not totally unreasonable. I mean, I think podcasts like this one have injured the reputation of the people in Branch 70. Certainly the Next Generation Carriers episode with Rivera injured the reputation of Branch 70.
In one of the episodes, I said that, look, because of what you guys did in Branch 70, I cannot support anybody who's running for national president from Branch 70.
Right.
I'm telling
or for
how I
national
feel.
Office. Yeah,
for national office.
Right. And so that's...
Now, that doesn't mean that I hate everybody in Branch 70.
No.
Okay?
Right.
It's just that he came... Like this replies from Branch 70.
Right. And so they go on. Again, injure their reputations and cause public contempt. His actions clearly illustrate he acted in a manner which violated the First Amendment. Now that one...
They're pushing it.
Yeah, dude, say you violated the First Amendment doesn't prohibit certain types of speech. The First Amendment allows speech. And so I think this is a false argument here. To say that he violated the First Amendment, it would really be that he violated prohibitions against defamation, or something like that. But that's not violating the First Amendment. To me, that's a red herring. All right. So, but move on, right? They do make a lot of arguments here. We're still on page 1.
Right.
Brother Rivera openly admits that he shared, via a Facebook post, an election appeal authored by another member of Branch 70 in his post dated December 17th, 2025. He stated, and then this is all a quote, I've included the link to the first appeal above. With the second appeal shared yesterday, I want to post the third and final appeal that was submitted to the election committee of Branch 70. This one was submitted by Mari Thompson, candidate for branch president, running against incumbent President Ricardo Guzman, who also serves as chairperson of the CLC. I hope this helps to stress the seriousness of the situation here in Branch 70, and despite the protests of certain branch officers, should be addressed accordingly, that all inquiries be answered, that an independent investigation take place, and a rerun of the election be supervised by NALC National, or if need be, the Department of Labor. Thanks for reading. End quote.
So I'd like to know, where's the false statement?
Yeah, what's the lie in here?
Yeah.
Right. What is the lie in here? Well,
where's the false statement that actually hurt people? I don't see it.
They're going to address that directly. Here it comes.
Okay.
Notice that he did not issue a disclaimer. Is that required?
No, not for freedom of speech.
No. And again, it's not his statement. He said, This is not my statement.
Right.
This
said it's from Mari.
Right. Okay. Notice he did not issue a disclaimer. At no time did he express the views are those of the writer and not his own. He said this was written by another person.
Sounds like he was saying something that was truthful.
Well,
it's coming from somebody else.
What he said was that, this is from somebody else. Okay. Instead, he used his freedom of speech to post the appeal containing false and defamatory statements as fact, and he stresses to readers the, quote, seriousness of the situation here in Branch 70, end quote. Okay, so, seriousness.
But here's the thing. If they're going to say this is a false statement, where's the actual true statement?
Right. What part of Rivera's statement is false?
Yeah.
And again, they don't claim... And I don't think that in all 13 pages, they're not going to claim that what Rivera said is false. They're claiming that what Mari said in her appeal was false or wound up not being true.
Then you need to let us know where that claim comes from.
Right. And this quote that they pull out here, the seriousness of the situation here in Branch 70, seriousness, it's a matter of opinion. Right? That's not a fact. That doesn't fall into that category of defamation. All right. Brother Rivera had a purpose in mind when he shared the appeal, and it was, in essence, to imply something nefarious was/is happening at Branch 70. I agree with that. I think that was his intent.
Nefarious?
Yeah.
That sounds like the people that wrote that up sounds like they're more nefarious than Michael Rivera is. I mean,
but I think,
my personal opinion.
You know, the position, and we've talked about this on a previous episode, that he did this solely for the sake of transparency. I think that's a little disingenuous.
Yeah, I mean, Michael is upset.
Yeah.
He has the right to be upset.
Right. Yep, that is exactly correct. All right. Let's see. Where did I leave off here? Dude, where was... Oh, something nefarious. Okay. Even when it was brought to his attention via undisputable evidence that the material he posted contained false and misleading information, at no time did he issue an apology to those he harmed or make a statement to correct the false information.
How can you make an apology on something where you don't know what harm that you did?
Well, it's a fair question, but I think also, there is a question of to what extent was he shown that it wasn't true, and they will actually get into that, right? And I think that this is a reasonable argument by Branch 70 in the sense that, if I'm wrong and you bring it to my attention, especially if I'm publicly saying these things, then I feel like I would have an obligation to say, oh, hey, that's on me. I was mistaken. But again, it's not Michael Rivera's mistake.
Right.
It's in Mari's appeal
But here's the
that
thing.
he shared. Yep.
It's almost like I cussed you out. Say, you so-and-so asshole,
Sure.
and you cuss out.
Michael, how dare you?
Yeah. So because I cussed you out, that's what, defamation?
Right.
Because I said it on...
So, and again, the things that they're going to say are
Yeah.
factually wrong are in the content of Mari's appeal,
Right.
which they're saying that Michael should have specifically disclaimed. And I don't think that standard is reasonable. When you share something on Facebook and say, hey, look at this article that I found, is that defamation?
Yeah.
I found this article.
Or you put thumbs up or thumbs down on
Right.
the article, happy face, sad face, screaming
Right.
face, crying face. I mean, and those are all just reactions like people put up.
Right. I
So
mean,
is that
the
all
argument
defamation?
that he should have edited her appeal? I don't think that's the argument they're making. Okay.
I share stuff all the time on Facebook.
Yeah, and some of it's not accurate, but that's the nature of social media. So I mean,
I don't know if it's accurate or not.
Yeah, and
I think it's legitimate. I just put it up.
we agree with Eddie Davidson here that this standard is a little bit ridiculous, and to use Article 10 on this is excessive. But dude, they've got 10 more pages of arguments to make.
You went 3 pages already?
No, we're on page 2. But the last page is just like signatures.
Okay.
So he didn't apologize. Brother Rivera has a right to have his voice and his...
boo-hoo. He didn't apologize. Oh, boo-hoo.
He has a right to have his voice and voice his opinion. However, that right is not unfettered or an absolute. So again, to step back here, we're doing a lot of digressing. At the meeting, according to the witnesses I talked to who were at the meeting, Ricardo Guzman specifically was making the analogy to yelling fire in a theater. Now, that argument, when made before the Supreme Court, is a very high standard. And the Supreme Court uses what's called strict scrutiny, where there has to be a very good reason to disallow a fundamental right, and there has to be a compelling government interest in doing so. Like, it's really strict. They call it strict scrutiny for a reason. That's not what we're talking about here. This is so far off from, in my opinion, the argument that they're making. Okay. While the National Association of Letter Carriers Constitution, the branch bylaws, and the election rules, or the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act do not prohibit a member from sharing appeals with other members, the First Amendment, which must be followed by all of the aforementioned, does not give anyone the right to defame other individuals via libel and or slander. There are limitations, obviously, and those can be handled. Well, is this the right way to handle it? I guess we'll go on.
So far, I don't know who he defamed yet. So,
well, they said the 10 people on the election committee. Yeah, or maybe there was 9 people on the election committee, and so they're also including Ricardo. I don't know.
Yeah,
Right?
We don't know.
Yeah, 10 members of Branch 70. So going on, Brother Rivera claims he shared the appeal with the intent of being transparent. Claiming transparency does not excuse ignoring obvious contrary evidence or failing to verify facts. It's iffy.
I don't know. It sounds like.
Again, he claimed.
Sounds like this reply. They don't have facts.
Well, he claimed that this is Maury Thompson's appeal, and it was Maury Thompson's appeal.
So
yeah,
what fact did they get except that he sounds like Michael Rivera actually said the truth?
Repeating a defamatory statement under the guise of transparency, even when citing a source, still makes Brother Rivera liable. So to me, this is the cornerstone of their argument. Transparency is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. The information shared was false and damaged the reputation of 10 Branch 70 members.
I got a question on that transparency. So we've had many things that we were trying to pass a resolution in Boston.
Okay.
To have transparency from Brian Renfro and what he's doing.
Sure.
So is this something that Brian Renfro could say, hey, that could harm somebody if I say this?
It's a great question.
I mean, I'm just going in a general direction of what they're saying.
Right. So they go on. Therefore, it was/is actionable defamation, regardless of Brother Rivera's professed intent to be open or transparent. That's an argument. Brother Rivera mentions, quote, that appeals are not confidential documents, end quote. And on page 1 of his summary, he states, quote, it has been ruled by NALC President Brian Renfro that the appeals are not confidential documents, end quote.
Oh, thank you. They actually have proof of that.
Well,
that it's not confidential.
Yeah. At no time did the members of Branch 70 ever state appeals were confidential documents. It's fair. It's true. They didn't. They did not state that. The problem with what he did when he posted the material was not due to confidentiality issues or because anyone at Branch 70 opined an appeal is confidential. The problem lies squarely with the fact that he knowingly posted and promoted the false and defamatory statements contained within the appeal. So we have, again, they're doubling down on this idea. This is the cornerstone of their position that he's being charged for the content of Maury's appeal.
On somebody else's appeal.
Right, because he publicized a public document that they don't like what the content was.
So because they're saying is he didn't do the research on what she was saying.
They specifically say that. Yeah. Yeah.
So what if he did research and found out that everything was true by Maury?
At the time, let's think back to the time when this was published. The only response that had been given to these appeals was, "We find no wrongdoing." Right? It was the one sentence reply from the election committee. So they go on to state again, even when concrete evidence was provided to him to substantiate the specified statements were false, he did not apologize to those he harmed, nor did he issue a correction. Instead, he doubled down and continued to present proven false statements as fact. His post and statements to other NALC members, especially those who are not members of Branch 70, has harmed the reputation of the election committee members and president of Branch 70. Brother Rivera's actions have not only caused public contempt for the election committee members and branch president, but Branch 70 as a whole.
So first of all, his content that he posted did not harm nobody, to my personal opinion.
Okay.
What the Branch 70 is doing by going after Michael Rivera has hurt their own reputation.
Dude, this is such a great point because I didn't even think about it this way, but Michael, you make a fantastic point. Because to me, the fact that Branch 70 kept the ballots on our show, that was the only thing we really took issue with. I even said these other issues, they're not a big deal.
Yeah.
Keeping the ballots in the locker, that really happened, right? That's not true. That's not a false statement. The issue is whether or not you think that's a big deal, and that is a matter of opinion,
right?
Which, by their own definition, is not covered, right? So there was the fact,
right,
that but they'll get into the actual facts that they dispute.
I'm saying my opinion is
later, but
the stuff that Branch 70 is doing is hurting their own reputation.
Right.
Then actually Michael Rivera did it by saying that
exactly
he agreed
the
with
potential
the
mishandling of the election isn't what harmed Branch 70's reputation. And dude, those posts only got a small handful of views. That's not what got all this attention. What got the attention, you're exactly right, is their response charging Michael Rivera, that's what got people fired up. Dude,
Right.
if it had just been the election appeals and they're like, no, we don't find that, we address this, just like what Eddie Davidson said, like, dude, just address the election appeal and then it dies right there.
Right.
100%. It would have never even been an issue on classes of mail.
Would have never gone anywhere
Right. Yeah.
significant.
But what they're choosing to do about it, that's what makes it still an issue. I mean, this is a good example of like
they're
the
hurting
Streisand
reputation
effect.
by giving him a year and a half of suspension from the union.
They're
3 years.
They're
Was it
hurting
6 years they gave Mari?
The last time,
Yeah.
This time 3 years. Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
what's hurting their reputation.
That's what you're hurting your reputation by trying to go
Right.
after your own carriers, your own members.
So again,
More than the post office.
Yeah. Yep. So again, Brother Rivera wronged 10 members of Branch 70. Brother Rivera could have prevented it, but he chose not to, and therefore we argue his actions violated the NALC Constitution.
So in reality,
Yeah.
even Michael Rivera Mari and maybe a few others can maybe file saying that it's hurting their reputation.
Well, they can't file it right now because they're suspended from the branch. How convenient.
Well,
Okay.
when the suspension is over. Other
Yeah.
people can who's not there.
I mean, maybe, because if you look at the original charges
Because that's
against,
what they're saying, that
Yeah.
everybody can do this.
Right.
And that's why Eddie Davis said this is stupid.
Yeah, the initial charge against Rivera was the people of the election committee filing the charge on behalf of the president. And so, yeah, maybe somebody else filed the charge on behalf of Rivera. I mean, it's
Right.
It's stupid. It's stupid.
That's why Eddie Davis said it's stupid.
Right.
People need to stop doing this
Right.
nonsense. Yeah.
Okay, moving on. No matter how Brother Rivera tries to spin the truth, Branch 70 has never had, nor ever will have, a problem with members sharing appeals. What Branch 70 does have a problem with is members making false accusations against other members. The membership of Branch 70 has suspended and expelled Sister Mari Thompson in the past for doing exactly what she did again in 2025. So
what did Michael Rivera that do except to post something that Mari did?
right.
Okay. And then Mari, it's been shown on our podcast that
Yeah.
she was told by the NLRDA that, even though they agree with what they did was wrong, but it wasn't enough to redo the election.
In some
Isn't that what it
cases,
say
I
that?
think the
Yeah.
NLRB said that they didn't find anything, any issues really at all. In other cases, they found issues, but they didn't rise to the level of rerunning the election.
Right.
But regardless, dude, the
So
argument they make here,
that some of the stuff that she said was correct, but not all of it was enough to redo the election.
Yeah, at least one of
So
her
at least,
complaints.
so at least some of the complaints she did was right.
But listen to this: the membership of Branch 70 has suspended and expelled Mari Thompson in the past for doing exactly what she did again in 2025. So what she did in 2025 was file an election appeal that had content in it that they didn't agree with. Now, we read the outcome of her committee on appeals, that was written by James Henry that said that, hey, you can't charge somebody for this. So right here, by their own admission, she did the exact same thing as last time that they charged her for that got overturned at the committee on appeals.
And then they're doing the same thing that was overturned.
Right.
So which is violating what was said.
Yeah, and that, the conviction on Mari Thompson got overturned by the Committee on Appeals, and now we have a second-hand involved person in Michael Rivera. Dude.
So who's
This
harming
is-
who?
Yeah, this is not a very strong position, in my opinion.
To me,
Okay.
they're harming Michael Rivera.
All right,
His reputation.
It's a reasonable position. I think there's some things that Michael Rivera has done as well to harm his own reputation, but that's
But he can go both ways.
yeah, it can. That's exactly right.
And that is what I'm saying is this is just
Yeah.
stupid because
Okay.
you're harming each other.
Yeah, right. And again, Eddie Davidson's right about
Mm-hmm.
that. All right. Brother Rivera states in the third paragraph of his appeal summary, quote, Mari Thompson's appeal, which was filed November 2025, never moved forward to the branch. And yet Branch 70 Election Committee chose to file charges in February 2026 instead of properly investigating and replying through the appeals process to satisfy the member and the matter by December 2025, end quote. In paragraph 1 of Brother Rivera's appeal summary, he mentioned that he, quote, did not author, endorse, or co-sign the appeal of Mari Thompson, end quote. However, he never included this disclaimer when he posted her appeal, and now within his own appeal, he is in essence acting as her spokesperson. So again, they're saying that he should have gone through and fact-checked the appeal that he shared, and his only claim on it, like, Dude, I went through this in the early days of classes of mail. Hold on. Let me complete this thought.
Okay.
I went through this in the early days of classes of mail and with my hiking group that there was a thought, should I have a disclaimer? And my initial thinking on this is no, I shouldn't have a disclaimer because I don't need a disclaimer because I'm not claiming anything. I'm not claiming that I speak for the post office, so I don't need to disclaim it. The claim is never made. And that's the situation here as well.
Only claim he made is saying that somebody else wrote it.
Yeah, that's right. And that claim is true.
And then it was true.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's the thing is, so, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because I was letting you
I know,
talk.
yeah, I appreciate that. Usually it goes the other way.
Yeah, when I rethink it, I'll say at that time. You can keep going. But I lost my train of thought.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
That's all right. All right, moving on. He accuses the election committee of filing charges against him in place of conducting a proper investigation and replying to Sister Thompson via the appeals process when nothing could be further from the
remember
truth. Go ahead.
So they're saying that he didn't do the investigation for the charges or disclaimer.
Right, he didn't properly
Right.
investigate her appeal.
Right. Well, we kind of did some investigation, and it sounds like a lot of the stuff that Mari did was correct in the fact that she filed these charges. She did. She
filed
said
the
this.
appeal, you mean?
The appeals. They found all the ballots in the locker and so forth. So it sounds like a lot of the stuff that she was saying were true.
What at least if it was at least it was reasonable. You know, it wasn't madness.
Right.
Right. Like there's an argument about where the ballots were while people were having lunch. And, there's evidence around that makes that actually a reasonable claim. So, okay, they say nothing could be further from the truth. That they didn't charge him because instead of doing an investigation. The charges against Brother Rivera have to do with the fact that he shared with numerous third parties via Facebook false accusations/statements made by Mari Thompson. Statements which he knew were false and would harm the reputation of 10 of his fellow brothers and sisters. Brother Rivera is merely creating a distraction and using this distraction to deflect blame off of himself for the harm his actions caused. Brother Rivera is not the victim here. The 10 brothers and sisters he defamed are. Again, please do not be swayed by Brother Rivera's attempt to spin the truth. So, I want to go back to this.
The front page where it's talking about defamation.
Yeah.
What did it say?
Let me go back. All right,
Yeah.
so we're at the top of
Since
page
now they're
4
talking about
here.
that.
Yeah.
Michael
We'll
Rivera
go back.
defamed them.
The communication of false statements about a person to a third party that injures their reputation or causes public contempt. It must be a false statement of fact, not just opinion, that causes damage.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that a false statement?
No. Well, they're saying, right, that Marty's statements were false. Yeah. Right. It's third hand or it's second hand.
Right.
Second hand defamation.
He didn't lie.
Does the court
He did not-
recognize second hand defamation? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
What harm did he do because he said a false statement? Well, I don't think he said a false
Well,
statement here.
And it goes further that statements which he knew were false, right? This gets into Rivera's state of mind. And how do they know his state of mind? How do they know what he knows and doesn't know? That's really tough to prove.
That's
Maybe they'll go on
defamation
to
is a
prove
civil
it.
matter.
Yeah, and that's why it's very hard to win a defamation case because you have to prove the harm. And let's get to that. They say it harmed our reputation, but that doesn't satisfy the standard of defamation. You have to specifically say how it was harmed, how it affected you, what your actual damages are.
What was the lie?
Well, right, they haven't gotten to that. They
Yeah, but
say
what was the
right?
false
What did
statement?
Michael say that wasn't true?
Yeah.
And
That hurt
what
them.
specific harm was done. Like, for example, I went to apply for a job, and because they had seen this post on Facebook, they didn't give me the job. Like there was rumor that Ricardo was going to be the CLC nominee for Director of Health and Safety. I don't know if that rumor was true. It's a rumor. But we now know that Rob Cozier has been moved over to Director of Health and Safety. So if that were a direct harm because of this controversy, that could be cited in here, but it's not.
But it's not.
Right. That's only hypothetical harm, even from my perspective. And if such a harm exists, it ain't because of the election appeal.
No.
It's because of the way it's been handled since.
It's been handled by the
right, by the people in Branch
People in
70.
Branch 70.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. Okay. For the record, the appeal of Sister Thompson was properly investigated, and a response was provided to her by the executive board in accordance with the NALC Constitution. Okay, so this is true, right? They did actually address, the election committee never addressed the complaints. It was just that one sentence reply. The executive board did actually address the complaints, and you know what? After that, her appeal went no further. So how about that? Maybe Eddie Davidson is right. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. And they include that as an exhibit. The fact that she did not move her appeal to the branch has no bearing here. What is at issue here is the fact that Brother Rivera knowingly communicated via a Facebook post false statements about his brothers and sisters to third parties which harmed their reputation and or caused public contempt. The members he maligned, specifically the members of the election committee, took exception to what he did and exercised their rights under the NALC Constitution. Okay. Brother Rivera makes a number of references to his appeal and the recent Branch 70 election, which has no bearing with this appeal. However, just so it does not go undisputed, in regards to the alleged election matters made by Brother Rivera, the branch disagrees with Brother Rivera. Moreover, we'd like to point out that on page 3 of his appeal currently at issue, he states he filed and shared election appeals, quote, to address potential wrongdoing affecting the voting membership.
Potential, right?
Yeah. In fact, they underlined potential in this reply.
Potential
It says
wrongdoing.
underscoring added. Yeah, end quote. In his own words, he states potential, not actual wrongdoing, because there was no actual wrongdoing. Brother Rivera's appeal of the Branch 70 election has already been addressed by the election committee, the branch executive board, and at a general membership meeting of the branch. In accordance with the NALC Constitution, the branch replied to this appeal. The appeal was sent to the Committee on Appeals at NALC headquarters and is awaiting a decision. And to step back here, I fully expect that decision to go the branch's way, right? I didn't see anything that rose to the level of you should rerun this election.
Yeah.
But that's the proper process. And this whole thing here, this is
The only thing to rerun the election is that they misplaced the ballots in the locker.
And even then, there's a question of, did ballots go missing? Do we have...
Right, we don't know any of that.
Right,
yeah,
right.
we don't know any of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all of this, this whole paragraph is set aside in a box. I'm not really sure why. Maybe to separate it because this is kind of an aside. And I agree with that. This is an aside. This is, in my opinion, immaterial to what's at issue. Because again, they say they don't take any issue with the content of Rivera's appeal. And I agree with that. They don't. All right, moving on. Therefore, in regards to the issues related to the election, e.g. ballots and the P.O. Box, the branch's official response is with the Committee on Appeals and is awaiting the response of the Committee on Appeals. Great, I agree with that. Right, that's a totally separate issue. Because again, they're charging him over someone else's appeal. Brother Rivera was charged with violating 3 specific sections of the NALC Constitution. 1. Article 1, Name, Powers, and Objectives, Section 5. 2. The Constitution for the Government of...
Wait, what was the first one?
Article 1, Name, Powers, and Objectives, Section 5. We'll get...
What is that?
Well,
Okay. Are they going to explain
They
that?
reprint it
Okay.
later, yeah.
Okay.
And it's some weak sauce, dude. Okay. Article 2, the Constitution for the Government of Subordinate and Federal Branches, Article 1, Name and Object, Section 2. And 3, the form of ceremonial initiation for candidates into branches of the National Association of Letter Carriers. This would be the oath that you take when you become
Right.
a union member. Yeah.
But these charges,
yeah.
saying that he violated these charges.
Yeah.
But that's not what they said the charge was originally, right?
It was. It's the same charges as originally put in. But, well, we'll get into the meat of it. The branch would like to point out that Brother Rivera did not address item 1 listed above. He presented no argument to rebut the charge which accused him of violating Article 1, Name, Powers, and Objectives, Section 5 of the NALC Constitution. Article 1, Name, Powers, and Objectives, Section 5, which states in relevant part, quote, the objects of the association shall be to unite all letter carriers and other employees of the Postal Service for their mutual benefit, to obtain and secure our rights as employees of the United States Postal Service, and to strive at all times to promote the safety and the welfare of every member, end quote.
Sounds like they failed at that in the fact that there was no safety and welfare for Michael Rivera and Mari.
Well, the problem with
Only
this,
for themselves.
in my...
It sounds like they're being greedy.
from my perspective, the problem with this charge is that it's completely subjective. You know, it's not like when you violate, you know, the way you're supposed to handle money in the branch and like, hey, the bylaws say this is supposed to come to a vote of the members and it didn't come to a vote of the members. You know, this part says like, hey, we should be nice to each other and you're not being nice. Like it's so vague as to be meaningless. And I would imagine
it sounds like they're not being nice.
Yeah, right.
So it goes both ways.
It's not.
Yeah.
It has to be not generally enforceable. How could it be? Because there's no objective standard here. But this is when you don't have arguments. I mean, dude, that's what happened to me and you. Is they charged us with violating the preamble. Yeah, and the response back was, dude, Andy's about to fall off the bed. The response back was like, you can't charge somebody with a preamble. That's not, you know.
It's not
It's not a charge, right? It's not a rule. Yeah. Okay. So they go on to buttress their argument. When Brother Rivera knowingly posted false information, his action did not promote unity or endeavor to promote the safety and welfare of every member. So
posting something.
Well,
okay. Well, for all members. So when we were posting on Facebook,
sure,
how Renfro is terrible at his job or whatever.
Yes.
And so I know Brent 70 has done it, but that's not in favor
members
to all
it.
members, right?
This is the problem, right? It feels like it's the same sort of thing. And they get in again to the mens rea, to the state of his mind, knowingly posted false information at the time that he posted it. Did he know that it was false?
Did Michael Rivera say that this is a false information himself?
Right. Did he make these claims? No, his statement was that this is Mari's appeal. Yeah. All right. His action did not promote unity or endeavor to promote the safety and welfare of every member.
Well, unity is trying to make sure that the election is done properly.
Yeah.
So that you don't have a miselection where somebody is out doing it so they can win the election. That is not unity. That is splitting it.
Well,
and so what Michael Rivera did was for unity because of election. There would be something that went wrong with the election. Okay.
He actually goes on to address that. Rivera does. So to go on with, obviously, Branch 70 disagrees with you. They say, on the contrary, on the contrary, his action was divisive and showed that it is not important to him to make sure what he posts is truthful, especially when the false information he posts doesn't interfere with or impede his own safety and welfare. Again,
what safety?
That's a great question. I mean, when you're reaching, you just reach.
Right.
You know?
What's
this argument
now?
is a reach, yeah. And, right.
Oh, it's going to hurt my eye because I saw that on Facebook.
Well, no, they're saying that it didn't affect his own safety. And they're right. You know, his safety was not at issue. All right, check one.
Nonsense.
Check one for them. Again, Brother Rivera did not even address this particular section of the NALC Constitution in his appeal. The branch contends it would be reasonable to conclude it is due to the fact Brother Rivera has no defense in regards to this cited section of the NALC Constitution because he is guilty of failing to honor this cited section. Based on this, the branch asks that an adverse inference be taken against Brother Rivera. Okay, to me, this is a fantastic argument. And this is a failing on the part of Michael Rivera. That, dude, when you're accused of something, you have to address it. And to leave it unrebutted, I don't necessarily know that the Committee on Appeals will agree because the arguments are kind of addressed in the second charge. But, dude, kudos to them for recognizing this, pointing it out, and drawing that adverse inference. This is an excellent argument on the part of Branch 70. The branch contends it would be reasonable to conclude, again, Brother Rivera did not even address this particular section of the NALC Constitution in his appeal. The branch contends it would be reasonable to conclude it is due to the fact that Brother Rivera has no defense in regards to this cited section of the NALC Constitution because he is guilty of failing to honor this cited section.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're right. If you don't talk about what the charges are, then what are you talking about?
Right. You're not defending yourself against the charge.
Yeah. No, but here's the thing. To do the right thing by the appeals committee or whatever, you go by what is right. So not because somebody forgot to say the argument. Because you got to go with people who has never been a steward, which Michael Rivera has never been a steward.
Right. Okay. There has to be. I think he might have been for a little while.
Maybe
I'm not sure.
But it's for all rank and file members.
Yeah.
All members of the NALC.
So there has to
Some
be
of
a
us
certain
don't know how to
amount-
make arguments.
Yeah, there has to be a certain amount of grace given by the Committee on Appeals because they know
Yeah.
they're going against a lay member.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're all not lawyers. If we were,
Right.
we wouldn't be working at the post office.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Brother Rivera was charged with violating the Constitution for the government of subordinate and federal branches, Article 1, Name and Object, Section 2, which states, quote, this is the second charge. The objects of this branch are to unite all employees who are eligible for membership under Article 2, Section 2 of the National Constitution into one harmonious body for their mutual benefit, and to assist the National Association of Letter Carriers in its efforts to improve the condition of its entire membership. End quote.
I have two things on this.
Sure.
Unite.
Yeah.
Okay. And improve conditions.
Yeah.
Okay. Because unite means that's for everybody, including the branch. Okay. And then can improve the conditions. Well, okay, maybe how about you do the election correctly?
Well, I mean, that's the argument. So this is Brother Rivera makes that argument. Mm-hmm. And they go on in the reply. Brother Rivera stated his, quote, actions are not a violation of Article 1, Section 2.
Oh,
They
so he
are
did make an argument.
This is the second charge.
Oh, okay.
They are a direct fulfillment of it, end quote. He alleges...
No, I'm saying the one part that you agree. They're saying that he didn't have an argument. That looks like an argument.
It's an argument to the second charge.
Yeah.
It's not an argument against the first charge.
Okay.
So anyway, he alleges the members of Branch 70 restricted his ability, quote, to question election integrity or participate in open discussion of union business, end quote.
Unite. I guess
Yeah.
that was not united, huh?
This, again, is simply not true. For the 13 years Brother Rivera was a member in good standing, and for the 10 general membership meetings he has attended in those 13 years, anytime he... Dude, this is a dig, that will not be lost on the... It wasn't lost on me, and I'm sure it won't be lost on the Committee on Appeals that, this guy's, he's a fair weather union member anyway, because he's only been to 10 meetings in 13 years. Right? I see what they're doing here. They're attempting to paint him as a half-assed union member. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So anyway, he most wait, where did it go? Okay. Dude. Where the hell?
It can't be true, but you're still on the same page.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay, I got it. The 10 membership meetings he has attended in those 13 years, anytime he approached the microphone to speak, he was given an opportunity to do so. That's probably true.
I'm sorry, 10 member meetings in 13 years?
Yeah.
That's like less than one a year.
It is, yeah. It's not very many.
I make like 9, 10 a year.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Wow. So that's good.
But to me, this is a red herring, right? The number of meetings that he attends has nothing to do with whether his argument is valid.
Then I must be like great because I attended more than 10
Of course, dude. You're one of the
meetings.
In the bullseye
in
model
1 year
that we learned from Simo Lean and John Murphy, you're at the middle of the bullseye, right? You're about the most active union member that there is. And Michael Rivera is outside of that target of the bullseye. And that's what they're arguing. That's what they're talking about here. Again, this is a complete red herring. It has absolutely nothing to do with the validity of this position. Mm-hmm. But they say, they throw that in, and that he was never denied his right to speak. His right to free speech and his rights. His right to free speech and his rights under the NALC Constitution have never been denied. When the majority of the membership agreed with his opinion, all was well with him. I'm sure that's true too. However, when the majority of the membership did not agree with him, he could not and would not accept the will of the membership. Yeah, that may be true as well.
But he doesn't have to.
Right. The branch recognizes that he has the right to disagree and dislike the will of the membership. All right, we're all in agreement here. Yep. However, what he does not have the right to do is defame his brothers and sisters. So we get back to that core of the charge.
Which the quote, what defame?
Well, that's the question, right?
What lies?
Right. What lie did he tell? Mm-hmm. Yeah. At Branch 70, the body is supreme. The leadership of Branch 70 is guided by the will of the membership. It is not the other way around. Because of this, Branch 70 has been able to unite its members and operate as one harmonious body for the mutual benefit of the body. When Brother Rivera knowingly posted false information about 10 of his brothers and sisters, he most certainly violated the Constitution for Government of Subordinate and Federal Branches, Article 1, Section 2. His actions did not promote unity, harmony, and or improve the conditions of the entire membership.
That sounds like, well, you didn't follow what I say, you didn't follow, and you didn't kiss my ass. So therefore, you violated. That's what it sounds like.
I mean, we've heard that complaint in our own branch that
You didn't follow
if
what I
you-
said.
Right. If you
So-
speak up, how dare you say we should follow the bylaws? You're sowing disunity. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the in the first page of the playbook of the people who are
You
already
didn't
in
kiss
those
my
positions.
ass. So
Yeah.
so it's your fault.
Right. Right. And dude, and isn't this the same argument that the status quo makes against the CLC? That, you're not promoting unity.
Yeah.
We should all be on
You're
the same page.
separating
here.
all of us.
Right. Yeah.
You're creating different
it's
groups.
An identical argument. Yep. Okay. Brother Rivera was charged with violating. Now we get to the third charge. Brother Rivera, and after this, we'll probably pause because we're only on page 6 and make a second episode.
You should 13 pages.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll do a 2-part episode. Brother Rivera was charged with violating the NALC Constitution, form of ceremonial initiation of candidates into branches of the National Association of Letter Carriers, which states in relevant part, quote, assist in promoting the welfare and progress of the association and endeavor to practice and maintain the principles upon which it was formed, wrong no member or see no one wronged if you can prevent it, end quote. Again, this is a very subjective thing. The above stated portion of the pledge applies to all NALC members, including Brother Rivera. The language is very clear. Quote, wrong no member or see no one wronged if you can prevent it, end quote.
Now,
That's the subjective part.
So is this
what do you consider wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this where he's talking about?
And how do you remove somebody for 18 months over something so subjective?
Right.
Yeah. So Brother Rivera had the ability and more than one opportunity to prevent the wrong he did to his brothers and sisters. However, not once did he apologize or ever make an attempt to right the wrong he did to 10 of his brothers and sisters.
So you have to apologize for telling the truth?
Well, I mean, that's the nuance of the argument that's been at the corner of the entire charge, the entire process is, they don't like that the appeal that he shared had
Ellen,
things in it that they disagree with.
Why'd
Yeah.
you fart yesterday?
That's a fair question. It's just a core part of who I am.
That's not keeping unity here.
Right. Yeah.
It's making me
That's
defamed.
And because this is so vague, anytime there's disagreement, they can...
See how ridiculous that
Of course.
sounds?
Right. They can cite that anytime there's disagreement. And that's the problem. And that's why that might have been cited in the charges against us, but there's no rule there. This is a very vague...
Well, no, there's no citing on these because they were using a preamble, which is not even an article. So
Yeah, and they're using the initiation ceremony as a charge.
the initiation ceremony, is this the one that talking about maybe that when James Henry came to do the initiation of
No, that's the
officers?
initiation of officers. It's a separate thing.
Okay.
This is when you
Okay.
first become a union member.
Okay.
Yep. So the charge letter presented to Brother Rivera also listed 3 specific false statements contained within the appeal he posted on Facebook. And so again, this is Mari's appeal, not Rivera's appeal. Right? And Rivera's claim was, this is Mari's appeal.
So you post anything from Brian Renfro, that could be your year and a half of losing your membership?
Well, if this is the
Suspended for a year and
standard...
a half? Yeah. If
This
that's
is
the standard,
right.
that means everybody on CLC, you've been posting stuff about Renfro for the last 2 years.
Let's use an example. Let's use
Yeah.
a concrete example, right? Remember when Lou Dross made his own podcast? It was to directly challenge the things that were said by Corey Walton. One of the things that Corey Walton said was that members were being sold out at these pre-arbitration hearings or when they were settling all these cases for pennies on the dollar. Lou Dross came back and he said, hey, I'm the one who settled those cases. They were not settled for pennies on the dollar. So should he charge, would it be reasonable and convictable to charge Corey Walton under Article 10 for saying that the cases were settled for pennies on the dollar? It's the same argument. And, dude, Eddie Davidson's...
But I'm just saying, like Renfro,
Yeah.
you got Chris Jackson and brought it up in the Boston meeting where it says, oh, by the way, you were drinking, you had to go to this rehab and all that.
Right.
It's defaming him.
Yeah. I mean, and dude, Renfro, when he was at the mic, he said, hey, some of the things that Chris Jackson said aren't true. Some of them were true, but he says some of them aren't true. And, should Chris Jackson have been brought up on Article 10 charges? Like, this is
right.
the standard.
This is
You know,
like the
come
standard
on.
that Branch 70 is creating that Brian
Right.
Renfrew could have done this to anybody
Right.
from CLC.
So again, they list the specific things in Mari's appeal that they take exception with, and then you know what? Let's actually pick up the next episode with that because we're going to get into some more details here. We're leaving off at the bottom of page 6, and if you have any thoughts to go away, I got to set up the music for that.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's if you look at both ways and how they're claiming Michael Rivera did, you can see how stupid sounds when it comes from Branch 70. Okay, and that is, now don't get me wrong, I still support CLC. I just want them to see how this looks so stupid.
Yeah, it's not a good look in our opinion.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. All right, so that's what we have. Michael, you go ahead and press pause when we finish recording here, and I've got the remote. Not yet. I got to do the closing music. So for Michael Rivera, for Annie sitting here on the bed.
This is
with
part
us.
1.
Yeah, part 1. Come back for part 2, and thank you guys very much for listening, and we will catch you all next time.